Hey everyone, welcome back to another VCREZ video. Today, we're taking you through the complete transformation of this beat-up Dodge Challenger and showing you how we turned it from this to this using vicrez OEM replacement parts. We will be going through each installation, including the fenders, the doors, the quarter panels, the front and rear bumper, the spoiler, and even the tires and wheels. You can find links to each part we used in the description below. Now let's get into it, starting with the fenders. Start by disconnecting the negative battery terminal to disable the airbags and electrical system. Next, remove the interior door panel and disconnect all wiring harnesses for the window switch, mirror, and lock. With the door supported, remove the hinge bolts and the door check strap, then carefully lift the door off the hinges. Align your new replacement door, it's easiest with a second person, and reinstall the hinges and check strap. Reconnect all electrical connections, reinstall the interior panel, and test the window, locks, and mirror before finishing up. Once everything's working properly, you're ready for paint and final alignment. Next, we are going to move on to replacing the front bumper. The part number for this one is VZ101767.
What's up guys, it's Seth here with vicrez. Today we're going to be going over our front bumper 1967. Now if you're wondering where you can find this, you can go to vicrez.com and in the search bar type in VZ101967. Now there's a couple things you're going to need to do before you can install your front bumper, like these plastic pieces here. Now these plastic pieces here are for structural support during shipping, and we're going to go ahead and remove those during the installation process for the vents. These are the top and bottom vents, and the top one, the bigger upper one, will go at the top part. This one will go along the bottom and indicated here, and then the bigger one will go along the top with the grooves for the headlights. And then there's two more big pieces. Now this center piece here is to add a couple more structural support, and this will also in-house the lights, and then this also goes where those supports are during shipping. And then last but not least, the foam. Now this is just to add a little bit of extra noise dampening while you're driving so you don't hear a bunch of vibrations or anything, and it'll also butt up against your crash bar on your vehicle. That way, if anything bumps into your bumper, it shouldn't do too much damage, and it drops in place just like that. Now we're gonna go over the small stuff. Now over here, you can see a couple parts here that I have separated. Now these parts you're gonna need to take off your OEM factory bumper, like here. Now these are the mounting brackets indicated here. There's a left and right side. And then you're also gonna need your wiring harness, indicated here. That plugs into your flashers right there so that people know where you're located if your headlights ever go out. Now these are for the headlights. These will just pop right in place and they'll form around the headlights to make it have a cleaner look and to put a black border around the headlights. Now we have these other vent pieces. Now these do end up deleting the fog lights. As you guys can see here, we do not have them here for the build. This front bumper does delete the fog lights. And then last but not least, we have the hardware. Now a couple things that are not included in the kit are a socket and a wrench. You'll need a 10mm socket as well as a rivet gun if you want to use the hardware included with the kit. Now we sell a rivet gun at vicrez.com if you would like to go look for it. Now we're pretty much ready to assemble. Let's go ahead and get started. So here's all the tools you'll need for the installation. We have a tool for prying out any rivets that we may need to pry on or get out. And then we have two screwdrivers, flathead screwdrivers, for any rivets or any plastic shims that we might need to pry on to get them to pop in place. And then we also have a razor blade. Now this we'll use to cut out the support brackets. That way we can fit the air vents in place. And then last but not least is a ratchet and a socket. Now you'll need a 10mm socket for the bolts that we'll be installing onto the front bumper. And now we're gonna go ahead and get started on our front bumper, VZ10 1967. Now, one of the first steps you're gonna need is a razor blade. We're gonna go ahead and start cutting off these support brackets that hold the bumper together during shipping. We're gonna go ahead and do that so we can go ahead and install our 2 front vents indicated here and here. Then we can go ahead and start installing the rest of our parts. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and start getting started with the top 6 support brackets. Now guys, be careful when doing so. Wear gloves to protect yourself. Now guys, there's thin parts indicated where you can cut at on each support bracket. Just take your time and try not to cut into the bumper. Once you get one side off, the other side should just snap right off. Just make sure you take your time not to cut into the bumper. Now, if there's a little bit of excess material, you can always take a little bit of sandpaper and sand it down if needed. Now guys, if you're having your front bumper painted, I suggest leaving the support brackets on if you're taking it to someone to get painted or if you're doing it yourself. That way there's no sagging in any of the parts before you install the rest of the pieces. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the last bottom 2. And last but not least, for the bottom one. Now that's it for our support brackets. We're gonna go ahead and grab the vents and move on to the next step. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started with these bottom 2 side vents. Now there's just 4 clips indicated on each side of the vent that just snap right into place. Now we're gonna go ahead and do this side. Now all you have to do is line it up and it should just pop right in place. Now guys, make sure you hear it snap into place to make sure it's secure. Now we're gonna go ahead and start with the bottom vent. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and start with the insert for the top part of the bumper. This will allow us to go ahead and install the air vent for it. We're gonna do that now. Now this just pops in with a couple of clips located along the bottom part and the top part for the vent, as you can see there. Now this should just drop right in place, and then you'll have to line up the clips and make sure they snap in. Now this can be a little bit difficult and may require a little bit of strength, but make sure you line it up correctly and they should all just snap right in place. So now we're gonna go ahead and install our bottom grill. Now this simply just pops right in place with a couple plastic tabs, like so. Now you'll want to make sure you hear all of them snap into place. That's whenever you know your grill is seated correctly. Now this is what it should look like after you have it installed. Now we're gonna go ahead and install our bottom light trim pieces. Now we're gonna have to flip the front bumper on its side, standing straight up, so we can go ahead and install them from the front. Now there's gonna be a couple tabs on the backside that you'll wanna make sure are seated correctly after you popped all of them in place. There's 2 in the middle and 2 on each side. Okay, so next we're gonna go ahead and add our top trim border piece on our front bumper. Now, this simply slots in between your top grill insert and the bumper itself. And then you can finish snapping in your top grill insert. Now we're gonna go ahead and start snapping in the top grill insert.
Now, we're cleaning up all the edges to prepare for installing the lower grille and the rest of the front end accessories. Next, we're removing the OEM bumper, carefully releasing all the clips and fasteners along the bottom to detach it completely. We're also removing the damaged headlights and connectors, replacing them with new components to ensure everything functions properly. After finishing the cleanup, we begin installing the lower grille, upper grille, and all remaining front bumper accessories for a precise fit. Now we're checking that the headlight trim and all surrounding parts are properly aligned and secured. Finally, we're inspecting the front crash bar for any bends or cracks and removing the broken plastic bumper support to prepare for the new installation. For a closer look at how the prepped front bumper is installed on the Dodge Challenger, check out our full installation video linked in the description. And for more Dodge Challenger parts and accessories, visit vicrez.com today. Next, we are going to move on to replacing the OEM door, part number VZ105253. We'll walk you through the full process from removing the old door, prepping the new one, and getting everything installed and lined up just right. So stick around, hit that like button, and let's get started. So the first thing we will need to do is remove everything we need from the old door to put in the new one. So we are removing the window. Now we are taking out all the wires and cables. These are needed for using the door handle, window controls, and the door speaker. Now, we are taking off the side mirror so we can transfer it to the new door as well. Next, we are removing the door handles. Make sure to unplug the cables as well, and then we will be transferring those to the new door.
So essentially, we're taking everything apart from the door panel, since it's going to be replaced with a door replacement, and we have to replace the door. So essentially, we have to take all the cables from the original door panel and then place them onto the replacement door.
Now, we basically have everything we need from the original door. We can remove the bolts holding the door to the vehicle, so we can finally remove the old door.
Okay, so once you take the bolts, the two main bolts from the door, then you're able to remove the door. So we're gonna be replacing the door. As you can see, it's pretty fucked up. So we're unboxing right now the door replacement. Part number is BC105253. So here we got the original one, and here's the OE replacement from vicrez. So right now we are essentially transferring all the pieces from the original onto the new door. So essentially we're transferring right now all the parts from the original onto the new replacement part from vicrez. Because we transfer all the cables from the pre-existing OEM door onto the new replacement door, and the door handle we transfer also as well, and that's for to move the mirrors. Then we need the door panel just to finish up with the door handle. So we're just adding the final bolts to mount the door and ensuring that everything is properly adjusted. Right now he's working on connecting all the cables necessary to ensure the door handle is working. Make sure that the plastic is nicely and properly secure, so it doesn't come off the doors. That's what he was working on right now. So those are the cables for the door handle, so it can work on the door panel. So we're going to connect it onto the door handle. So now we're connecting the cables necessary for the windows to go up and down. But right now we're gonna go ahead and start with the speakers that go onto the door. So we need to adjust, make enough room so the window can go down. And the same thing we're gonna do over here. So we're gonna go ahead and install the window now. So we have to ensure that the window goes inside the indentations.
The last thing to do is test your window controls to make sure everything is working as it should. You can then put your door panel back on.
So once you're done with the door, it should look something like this. The procedure was fairly easy, pretty straightforward. It does take, I would say, a little work. With at least two people should be more than enough. And now the next part is going to be the quarter panel.
What's up guys, it's Seth here, and today we're going to be going over what you need to do to replace your driver's side quarter panel. As you guys can see here, we got this one from auction, just a little bit damaged, and we're going to go ahead and replace both sides. Now if you're wondering where you can find our quarter panel replacements, you can go to vicrez.com, and in the search bar, VZ105249, this will be the driver's side. Now, as you guys can see here, it already has the window cut out as well as the gas cap cut out. Now we're gonna have to cut incisions along the whole quarter panel to go ahead and remove it. That way we can install our new one and have it have a fresh, clean look instead of this body damage it has occurred. And as you guys can see, we've already started with a couple of steps to remove the rear bumper. Now, as you guys can see here, the rear bumper is completely disassembled, as well as the tail lights. And as you guys can see here, there's still a bracket left on. You'll need this whenever you reinstall your rear quarter panel to reinstall the rear bumper. Now, we're gonna go ahead and remove this because we're actually gonna have to cut the quarter panel along this seam right here, along the back, behind this bracket. We're gonna do that now. Now all you'll need is a Phillips head screwdriver, and with a couple of screws along the edge of it, you can just unscrew them, and then there's 3 plastic clips holding it in place. Now guys, after you went ahead and removed the screws, there's a little bit of 3M tape holding it on, as well as the plastic rivets, and they should just pop right out. If you need a prying tool, go ahead and grab a chisel or something plastic and just pry on it, and it should pop right out, like so. Now, to ensure to not lose these screws, make sure you screw them back in place, and make sure you keep these plastic clips for whenever we install our new rear quarter panel. Now, once you have everything taken off that you need to have taken off of your rear quarter panel, you can go ahead and start mocking up your new replacement quarter panel. And as you guys can see, where that bracket was, your rear quarter panel will sit there. Now this is where we're going to go ahead and cut, and then we're also going to make some scribe marks up front, at the top and bottom, on where the body panels will match up. This will indicate where exactly we can cut at. Now, as you guys can see, we've marked the locations on where we're gonna be able to cut and have lenient space to do so. That way we're not overcutting the quarter panel. Now the rear side's pretty easy. As you guys can see here, they've siliconed some of the parts together, located along this edge. And we'll just have to follow where they welded the panel together and put silicone on it. Now, as you guys can see on the top, there's 2 markers indicating where we're gonna cut and then where we're gonna fold. This front line is going to be where the body panel actually sits. This back line is where we're gonna cut the rear quarter panel out so we can fit the new one in place. And then we'll fold this extra material down in between to have it have a seamless look. Now we're gonna go ahead and start cutting into the rear quarter panel. So now that we've cut into the quarter panel, we're gonna go ahead and talk about what kind of cutoff disc we're using, as well as just a simple angle grinder. Now we're using a Warrior cutoff disc. We do not sell these at vicrez.com, but you can find them at pretty much any hardware store. Now these are stainless steel as well as steel cutoff discs. They're 4.5 inches thick and are 1/16 thick and 27/42 tight. Now we're just using it on a simple cutoff angle grinder to cut into the quarter panel. Now we're gonna go ahead and jack up the car in the rear so we can take off the rear wheel as well as the front side skirts so we can finish cutting into the rear quarter panel and finish removing it. Now that we have the car jacked up, we're gonna go ahead and remove the rear wheel as well as the bottom side skirts that's underneath the driver's side door. Now we're removing the side skirts as well as the rear wheel. This will allow us to have more space to cut into the rear quarter panel, as well as removing the side skirt so we can finish cutting into the rest of the bottom of the quarter panel to get ready to remove it. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the side skirt. Now this is held in by a couple plastic clips, so you'll need something to pry on the plastic with to pop out the plastic clips. Now guys, he's just using a simple plastic pry bar to pop out the rivets. Now guys, be careful not to break your clips if you're going to be reusing your bottom side skirt. Now if you've already ordered a new one, you don't have to worry about breaking the plastic clips. If you've ordered a new one from us, we include new plastic clips to install a new side skirt. Now as you guys can see, where the plastic clips were located at the bottom of the side skirt. There's 8 plastic clips in total running the bottom of the side skirt that you'll need to pop out. And then this is what it should look like after you're finished. And now you guys can really start to see where you're going to have to cut into the fender flare to remove the rear quarter panel. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the gas cap. A couple steps you need to do is first, if you're tall like this, jack up the car, save your back. Next, we're gonna remove the wheel liner so that we can reach up inside the rear quarter panel. And there's 4 clips located on each side of the fuel cap. Now those will be located on the inside of your rear quarter panel. And what you're gonna do after you remove the wheel liner is reach up inside there and just push in the clips on each side of the fuel cap, and then they should pop right out. And then you'll do the same for the other 2. Now there'll be a 10mm screw that you need to go ahead and unscrew to remove the wheel liner, as well as a couple plastic rivets. Now all you need to do is loosen up those screws and pop out the plastic rivets, and the liner should slide right out. And then you can go ahead and reach up inside the rear quarter panel to push in the clips to remove the gas cap. Now, we'll go ahead and reuse this gas cap on the new quarter panel. Now, as you guys can see, the liner should just pop right out. If there's any more plastic clips holding it in place, it should show you exactly where it's held in place at. Now, once you went ahead and removed your plastic wheel liner, you can go ahead and reach up inside there, and you should feel 2 plastic clips on either side of the gas cap. Once you've felt those plastic clips, all you'll need to do is push them in to push the plastic clips out, and everything should just pop out as one piece. Now, you may need to push 2 clips in at once to get it to pop out, and then do the same for the other 2. Once you went ahead and pushed the plastic clips in, it should just pull right off, like so. Now we're gonna go ahead and reuse this gas cap, so make sure to put it in a safe place because your new quarter panel will not come with one. Now, once you went ahead and removed your gas cap, you wanna make sure you grab the cap itself and screw it back on. Because as you guys can see, it leaves your gas line completely exposed and open. And you wanna make sure you get no debris or sparks down inside there. And now we can go ahead and start cutting into the quarter panel again, where we marked out. Now that we've made some of our outline cuts, we can go ahead and start prying on the rear quarter panel to pop out some of the pieces and to see where is left that we need to be cutting at. Now, as you guys can see, there may be a couple spots where you didn't completely cut all the way through. That's why we're prying on the rear quarter panel, at least the part that we don't need. This will allow us to see any places where we haven't already cut into or that we may need to clean up. Now, there may be a little bit of foam holding the quarter panel on to the car, so you may need to pry on it with a little bit of force to release it. Now, as you guys can see there's where some of the insulated foam is, as well as dampening the noise that the car makes going down the road. This will also help hold the rear quarter panel onto the car, so you may need to cut into it. And now, as you guys can see, we have our quarter panel removed, so now we can start prepping the rest of the surfaces to install our new quarter panel. And now, as you guys can see, we're going along the seam here to go ahead and finish removing the excess material. That way we can go ahead and install our new rear quarter panel right where the old one was. Now we're just using a simple hammer and chisel to remove some of the glue. And as you guys can see, we're going to go ahead and separate both of the panels that are welded together right there. Now we're just using a simple hammer and chisel to separate the 2 body panels. That way, whenever we go ahead and install our new quarter panel, that it'll match up perfectly. Now that we have the big portion of the quarter panel removed, we can go ahead and start working on some of the finer details, like inside the door well. As you guys can see, inside the door well, these are the little metal tacks going all the way around it, as well as your rear window. There will be metal tacks behind the black silicone all the way around the window that you will have to break and snap off to remove the 2 panels from each other. Then we can go ahead and start prepping the surface more to get ready to install the new quarter panel. You guys can also see it on the back row on the inside of the quarter panel, where we will have to remove the excess material to install the new quarter panel along the edges indicated there, as well as on the inside. And as you guys can see, he's just using a simple hammer and chisel. This will allow him to separate the two layers and break the metal rivets holding it on. And as you guys can see, this is what it looks like whenever you separate both of the panels from each other. And as you guys can see, he's separating the two panels along the whole edge here. Now we're almost finished taking the excess material off the quarter panel to get ready to install our new one. Now there may be some adhesive holding some of the parts together, as well as clips. So you may need to cut through the adhesive before you can cut through any of the metal welds that are tacked in place. And as you guys can see, we removed the rear windshield glass to ensure not to break it, but as well as to get in between the body panels that the back glass sits on.
After completely removing this quarter panel, we went to the passenger side and completed the exact same process on the other quarter panel.
Okay guys, so now that we have our old quarter panel completely removed and our new one mocked up, this thing sure does look nice. But there's a couple of things that we need to do underneath it before we go ahead and finish installing it. So let's go ahead and remove it now. Now that we have the underside exposed, there's a couple cut marks where we went too deep. So we're gonna go ahead and seal those up. Now here we have a caulking gun along with some auto seam sealer. Now this is a polyurethane adhesive, so we can go ahead and seal it up nicely and it gets a good adhesion to the body panel. Now we're also gonna lay a bead along the whole bottom edge here, and as well as a couple other places where we see fit. This is also gonna be the same auto seam sealer that we use to install the quarter panel itself. So once we get all the surfaces prepped and cleaned off, we'll get into laying a bead down and putting the quarter panel back on, and then finishing with tack welding all the way around the quarter panel. Now we're gonna go ahead and start with this whole bottom edge. Now after applying, you may want to smoothen it out to get good adhesion, as well as fill in some of the spots you may have missed when applying the bead. Now you'll want to make sure you use a glove or some type of application tool to make sure nothing gets stuck to you, because this auto body adhesive sure is hard to get off. Now guys, I'm gonna go ahead and prep the surface by cleaning it. Now what you wanna do is get a non-abrasive rag, like a microfiber or something to collect all the dust and everything else that might be on the surface, as well as some isopropyl alcohol to make sure there's no residue left on the surface or any other contaminants that may prevent the adhesive from sticking to the panel. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and douse my rag in some alcohol, and I'm actually gonna fold it up so I can get the concentrated area. And then we just wanna wipe all the areas where we will be laying a bead down. So that's pretty much the whole outer edge of the quarter panel and a little bit inside. Now the inside parts are like the window, around the whole window seam, and then under the fender well, once we get to it. Now under the fender well is right here along this seam. You want to make sure you get all the way into that groove to make sure there's no contaminants inside there, because that is where we'll be laying a bead of adhesive down. Now just like that, your quarter panel is ready for you to lay the adhesive down. Now, if you're wondering where you can find this microfiber cloth, you can go to vicrez.com and in the search bar, type in VAC 120, VAC 120. Now we're gonna go ahead and start laying a bead of auto body adhesive down all the way around the quarter panel edge. So now that we have everything thoroughly coated and auto body adhesive where we need it, we can go ahead and start putting the quarter panel in place and clamping everything down to ensure a good seal. Now we're gonna go ahead and start with the install. Now we can start cleaning up where any of the adhesive might have started leaking out and start clamping everything down. And now we're gonna go ahead and start clamping everything down. Next, we're gonna go ahead and fold these two tabs down, and that should lock the quarter panel in place. And next, we also have to install our door latch so it will shut correctly. And there's already 2 holes pre-drilled for us. Now, if we line the quarter panel up correctly, they should screw in just nicely. And it looks like we have. And what we can actually do with this is we can actually torque it down, and it should apply some pressure to the inside well of the door. So now we have everything clamped down nicely and all the edges where we ended up putting our sealant at. We also have a box here that is pretty heavy to weigh down the top of the rear quarter panel. That way it gets good adhesion and everything sticks nicely. And now we gotta wait 24 hours for everything to cure, but we'll come back and afterwards we're gonna drill a couple holes and then we're gonna go ahead and start tack welding everything down to make sure our quarter panel doesn't go anywhere. So now we're gonna go ahead and start riveting them down. But first, we're gonna go ahead and have to drill holes. We have this drill bit and it's a 3/16, and we're gonna go ahead and drill holes where we marked. We've already done a couple around the window. Then we're gonna go ahead and take our large size rivet and rivet it down to make sure both of the body panels are stuck together. That way, the quarter panels can no longer come off the car. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our drill and drill where we marked to make sure we aren't drilling into anything else. Now at first you wanna take it slow just to get your drill bit started. Then you can start speeding it up. Now I simply just like to tap it at first just so I can make an indentation. Then I'll start actually drilling. Now just like that, we have our hole drilled out for our rivet. Now we simply just take our rivet as well as our rivet gun and insert the rivet in. Then push it through the hole. You may give it a couple taps just to make sure it's in all the way. Then you simply just clamp down. Now we're gonna go ahead and finish drilling the rest of the holes for the rivets and getting both of the panels riveted together. Now we're gonna go ahead and back the car up onto these ramps So we can go ahead and spot weld with our new spot weld machine at the bottom here. Now the way this works is we simply just lift it up and clamp it down onto the 2 panels and then turn it on and let the machine do its work and spot weld the 2 panels together. Now that's pretty much it for that, guys. Now we're gonna go ahead and proceed with spot welding the bottom to the rest of the car. Now one of the things that we need to do before the spot welder can actually work is we're gonna just simply take some rough grit sandpaper and sand down the spot where we're actually going to be spot welding at. Now once you've done so, you can go ahead and take the spot welder and put it on the 2 contact points. You'll know it's working whenever you see sparks or the metal actually heating up itself. Now once you've seen it glowing red hot like so, that's how you know you have a good spot weld. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next spot. Now just like that, the 2 panels are spot welded together. Now this is what it should look like after you've tack welded it down. Now I'm simply just gonna go ahead and sand this top part right here, where there isn't a rivet. Now I wanted to show bare metal just like this, so that the spot welder has a contact point, that way it will weld properly. Now just like that, your 2 panels are spot welded together. So now that our first layer of seam sealant has fully had time to cure, we're gonna go ahead and apply another layer on top of the layer we've already put down to fully cover this edge, just to make sure nothing can get underneath this lip here. And then we're also gonna do the same all along this edge here. Now let's go ahead and get started. Now that I have a bead laid out, I'm simply just gonna go ahead and put on a glove and simply just smooth out the bead wherever you see fit. We're gonna go ahead and tack weld the outer seam of the rear windshield. Now, as you guys can see on this side, we've already sanded down some spots where we'll be tack welding it in place.
Now that we completed the passenger side quarter panel, we're going to go ahead and finish up the driver's side as well.
Like before, we're gonna go ahead and start filling any of the deep cut marks that we may have caused or any of the seams that may have peeled back. That way we can ensure no weather seeps in. Now we're also gonna go around some of the important areas like the window and around the gas cap to ensure a good and proper seal on our new quarter panel. And then we'll also follow the whole edge of the wheel well to ensure a good and secure connection at the bottom as well. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our quarter panel and clean the underside of it so we can go ahead and apply our sealant all the way around the edges where the quarter panel will make contact with the car itself. Now we're just gonna take isopropyl alcohol and spray the whole inside of the quarter panel to get it clean. Like there's some stuff stuck to it, but don't worry about that. Just as long as it's not touching the edges where it will touch the body of the car itself. Now we're mainly just trying to make sure there's no dust or particles that will keep the sealant from sticking to the quarter panel. Now that we have our quarter panel cleaned off, there is one more step we're gonna go ahead and do before we start applying our sealant, and we're gonna go ahead and install our gas cap and our trim pieces that insert onto the quarter panel itself. Now we're simply just gonna go ahead and take this and snap it back in place in this designated hole for it. And once you have it attached, you can go ahead and put it inside and close it up. Then we're gonna go ahead and take it and slide it into place, and everything should just snap right in. And just like that, it's not going anywhere. Now we can go ahead and take our seam sealant and apply it all the way around the edges to ensure a good seal. Then we're gonna go ahead and drill holes all the way around the quarter panel to ensure a good and secure ride. That way we can tack it in place. So now that we have everything coated where we need it coated, we can go ahead and apply the quarter panel onto the car. Now, just like before, we're gonna go retrieve the clamps and clamp down this side. Now we're gonna go ahead and start riveting the two panels together. Now we're simply taking these pliers and clamping the two panels together before riveting them together. And just like that, your rivet's installed. Now we can go ahead and move on to the rest of the car.
After finishing the final rivets, we have successfully completed the replacement of both quarter panels on this Dodge Challenger, marking another big step in its full restoration. Next, we are going to move on to replacing the OEM spoiler with our Redeye Hellcat-Style spoiler, part number VZ102182.
What's up guys, it's Seth here from Vicrez, and today we're going to go ahead and remove our rear spoiler and swap it out with our very own Vicrez spoiler. Now we're swapping it out with 102128. If you want to go check it out on the Vicrez website, go to vicrez.com and in the search bar type in VZ102128 and our rear spoiler should pop up. Now there's a couple things we're going to need to go ahead and remove this rear spoiler. Since this one does have a camera hole, we will have to remove the rear headliner for the rear trunk. So let's go ahead and open it up. And we'll need a 10mm socket for both of the bolts on each side. Now for right now, we're simply just gonna loosen them up a bit because we're gonna need to unplug a wire for the camera. Now we'll need a tool like this or some type of prying tool, even a flathead screwdriver, to pry on the plastic rivets to pop them out so we can take the roof liner off. Now once we've done so, we can go ahead and disconnect the camera and then finish taking off our bolts. There's one. And there's two. Now we can go ahead and take the spoiler off. Now it may be a little bit stuck on with some adhesive, so just give it a little tug, like so. Now we can go ahead and set this aside and grab our brand new Vicrez spoiler. So there's going to be a couple of things that come inside your bag whenever you receive your new spoiler. So there will be this little bracket piece that will be to replace the bracket which your camera sets on your old spoiler. And then there will also be a screw set. Now you'll also need the screws from your original OEM-style camera. So once you have your camera disassembled, you can go ahead and remove the screws and make sure to keep them. Now to install the camera on your new Vicrez spoiler is fairly simple. All you'll need is a Phillips head screwdriver and a Torx bit if applicable to your original screws on your original camera. Now we're going to go ahead and take our Phillips head screwdriver and loosen this camera bracket up so we can install the bracket that sits on this one. Now just like that, we can take this whole piece off and make sure to set the screws somewhere aside where you don't lose them. Now we can simply take this bracket and line it up with the other one, and it should sit there right with this notch that will poke through the hole. Now next we can go ahead and retrieve our camera from our original spoiler. Now once you retrieve your camera as well as the wiring, we can go ahead and separate the wiring just by this little tab here. You want to pull up on it and then you can go ahead and slide the wiring off. Now next, we're going to go ahead and take this smaller insert bracket and slide our camera onto it. Now, there is an orientation on which your camera will go. If you have it in an incorrect position, the camera will not seat correctly all the way. So that's an indication whether you have it seated correctly or not. Now next, we're going to take our original 2 factory OEM screws and our Torx bit and tighten the camera down. Now the reason we had to remove the wiring is because it actually gets in the way of the other screw that tightens the camera down to the bracket. Now once you have your camera installed, you can go ahead and line it up with the other bracket and then take your other 2 factory OEM screws that are Phillips head and tighten the 2 brackets to each other. Now just like that, you have your camera installed. Now before we plug anything in, we're gonna go ahead and get a step up or step down drill bit like this, and the circle indicated here is where we'll need to drill a hole to feed the wiring through. So We'll also need a regular drill bit along with our step-down drill bit. Now, all we're gonna do is take our small drill bit and drill a hole in the center of it, just so we can feed our step-down bit in more smoothly. Now, just like that, we have a guide for our step-down bit. Now, you want to be careful not to drill into the other side or make the hole too big, just big enough to feed the wire through. Now, just like that, we can go ahead and plug our wiring back in, feed our camera in along with the wiring, and this is where we'll be able to see if the hole is big enough or not. And we didn't quite make it big enough. All right, so before we plug it in, we're gonna go ahead and take the round side of our wiring and feed it through the hole because the other side's too big and we don't want to make the hole bigger than we need to. So go ahead and feed your wiring through to where you can reach it on the other side. And now we can go ahead and plug our wiring in. And now we're pretty much done with the setup for our brand new rear spoiler. Now all we have to do is simply screw back in the 2 Phillips head screw bits that we took off in the first place. And then we're done. All we have to do is install it onto the car. Now this thing sure does look clean. So now that we have everything assembled and all the wiring hooked up, we're gonna go ahead and take some isopropyl alcohol and spray some on a rag so we can wipe the bottom off and make sure it's free of any contaminants. So we can apply 3M tape all along the bottom edge. Now after we've done so, we can go ahead and take our 3M tape along with an X-Acto knife. And then we're just gonna follow this border surrounding the entire bottom of the spoiler. Now, we're gonna go ahead and just press down on the 3M tape to make sure it's stuck firmly to the spoiler itself. And guys, what applying the 3M tape like this does is it helps keep the weather out from reaching any of the bolt holes that you may have drilled into the trunk of your car. Now this will help prevent rust and any rain and other debris getting into your trunk. Now we're also gonna add an extra layer of protection around our wiring hole because it is the largest hole that is drilled into the trunk itself as well as the spoiler. Now just like that, we have all our 3M tape applied. Now we can go ahead and peel the red protective layer off the top of the 3M tape. Then we're pretty much ready to go ahead and install the spoiler. Now getting it started could be kind of tricky, so we like to take the X-Acto knife and just peel up one corner, just enough so we can grab it, and then we can go ahead and peel off the rest. Now just like that, we're ready to go ahead and start installing the spoiler onto the car. Now we'll also need our bag of screws that was included with the kit with the spoiler. So now we're gonna go ahead and start with the install. Now this may take 2 people, just so we can make sure it's on there straight. And we also wanna make sure it's lined up with the holes that are drilled for us. Now once we have the spoiler in place, we're gonna go ahead and take the screws included in the kit and start torquing the spoiler down. Now, if you're still unsure whether or not rain or any other type of weather may get into your car, you can go ahead and silicone the screws themselves so that you can be sure no rain or any other contaminants will get inside your car. Now this thing sure does look clean. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and also, what spoiler would you like to see on this car? Now as for the spoiler, everything else is coming along pretty cleanly. We're gonna go ahead and start working on the rear bumper next and getting it installed so we can start seeing the picture come together.
Welcome back to another VCRez installation video. Today, we will be installing our OEM-style rear bumper to this Dodge Challenger. This is a part of our restoration series, where we take a beat-up junk Challenger and bring it back to life with our vicrez OEM replacement parts. So, sit back and relax as we take you through the step-by-step process of this installation.
What's up, guys? Today we're gonna be going over how we're gonna install our OEM bumper and what we need to do to get it ready. So as you guys can see here, we have our OEM bumper. Now we're gonna need a couple parts off of it, like this splash guard here, which borders the whole top part of your rear OEM bumper. Now, there's a couple plastic tabs running along the bottom inside of it that you need a flathead screwdriver to pop out the plastic tabs. And once you do so, once you pop all of them out along this edge here, it should just come right off, like so. Now there may be some wiring attached to it with some rivets. They're just plastic rivets, and you'll may need a tool like this to pop them out. Now there's one of the parts that we'll need for our new OEM bumper. Now guys, next, we're gonna be taking out this bottom bracket, which holds our wiring harness to all of our electronics. Now it is held in with a nut and bolt that you'll need a 10mm socket and socket wrench to get undone. Now there'll be 2 located on each side of the front bumper. Let me go ahead and show you where. Right here, next to where the sensors plug in on each side. We're gonna go ahead and loosen those to get ready for the next step. Now make sure you keep your original parts because they're gonna be going on your new bumper. Let's go ahead and disconnect some of our sensors. Now there's these little plastic red tabs that you'll need to pull on each one of them to go ahead and disconnect them. Now as you guys can see, here's the little red tab I was talking about. There will also be a couple plastic rivets along the bottom of your support bracket. Now these are holding it in, as well as these nuts on each side. Let's go ahead and remove those now. Now we're gonna go ahead and pop these rivets out. Now once you've done so, make sure both of your nuts are loosened up and taken out, and that all your wiring is disconnected. Now everything should come out as one whole unit once you've disconnected everything properly, like so. Now we'll also need to get our OEM flashers. These should just pop out, as simple as pushing one of the plastic clips in, like so. Now guys, one of the last parts we're gonna need is this bottom splash guard. As you guys can see here, we've already removed the rivets that were holding some of the parts together. We'll need to remove these metal rivets on each side. We'll have to break them off and install new ones whenever we install it on our new OEM bumper. Now you may need something to clip them with to go all the way through, and make sure you snip off one end of it to get the rivets out. Okay, so next we're gonna go ahead and take off our undersplash on our OEM bumper. And how we're gonna do that is these little plastic black clips insert all the way around your original OEM bumper on each side. We're gonna go ahead and pop those out, and your OEM splash guard and sensors should pop right out as one unit, as well as your flashers, which are on the other side. All right, let's go ahead and pop those out. Now you may need a flathead screwdriver or something to pry on it with to get them to pop out. And usually you want to start from one quarter and work to your other. That way you can use some leverage. Now you want to try not to break these clips if you're going to go ahead and reuse it. So guys, another thing we're going to need to do before we remove our undersplash on our original OEM bumper is we're going to have to take our two flasher indicators on both sides out. And we're going to go ahead and remove our tag light as well. Now guys, just like your other flashers, there's a little clip right here that you just push in and they should fall right out. Same goes for your tail light. This one may be a little bit more difficult. And then it'll slide right out. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove our splash guard. And just like I said before, you may need a flathead screwdriver or something flat to pry in between to pop it out. Now guys, whenever you're doing this, you just wanna look exactly where the plastic clips are that are holding it in place. And you may need to pry on it a bit to get some force to pop them out. Now this is why we needed to remove the flashers, because the flashers get in the way of seeing exactly where the clips hold it in place. Let me go ahead and readjust. Now that you have the last piece to your OEM bumper, we can go ahead and start working on our new OEM bumper. So now that we have everything from our original OEM bumper, let's go ahead and go over how we're gonna install everything in steps on our new OEM bumper. So first, we have our top bracket, and this is gonna set exactly like it did on your original factory OEM bumper. And then there's a couple of tabs holding it in place, just like before, that we're gonna pop in, and that's what's gonna seat it, as well as some screws on each side whenever we go ahead and install it back on the car. And then we're gonna go ahead and install our bottom splash. Now this has our sensors on it. We need to install this before we can go ahead and install our sensor bracket. Now this will just be held in with clips, popping in all around the bottom of your new OEM bumper. And then next is our sensor bracket. We'll go ahead and install this and insert our sensors as well as the control modules into their positions on each side. And then we can go ahead and start working on the small stuff like your side flashers as well as your tag light. Let's go ahead and start with our top light bracket. Now this should just snap right in place. Now there'll be some plastic clips going all the way around it that you'll need to slide in each one of these holes to seat the top light bracket in place. Now this may be a little bit difficult because they are kind of stiff, but you may just need to readjust it to seat them correctly. And then they'll just snap in place just like that. Now if they're not seated all the way, you can use a flathead screwdriver like so to pry on it just a little bit to make sure the clips seat properly. Now we're gonna go ahead and start on our bottom splash guard. Now this splash guard also holds your sensors for your tailgate. Now this will just snap right in place as well. Now guys, they'll snap in place all along the edge where these holes are, just like on your original OEM bumper. Now guys, once you hear that snap, you guys know that your bottom splash guard is seated correctly. And then you can just work your way down the line. Now we're gonna go ahead and install our wiring bracket. Now each of the sensors have a module for each side that should just pop right in place, right in its slot. On each of the quarter panels, we're gonna go ahead and lay a thick bead of seam sealant all the way around the edges before we install our bumper bracket and get our rear bumper installed. Now, there's a couple things I'm gonna do before I go ahead and lay the bead down. I'm gonna go ahead and take some masking tape and mask off the quarter panel itself. Now, I'm just using some blue masking tape or painter's tape, whatever you wanna call it. And I'm just making sure to mask off wherever the seam sealant may touch. Now, for right now guys, I'm simply just masking off the parts, not trying to make it look pretty or anything, because afterwards, I'm gonna go ahead and take my X-Acto knife and clean everything up. Then I can go ahead and start laying my bead down. Now I'm simply just gonna push down on the tape, making sure it's stuck to the quarter panel pretty well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start trimming off where it's not touching. Now, once we have everything masked off, we can go ahead and get gloved up before we start messing with the sealant at all. Now we can go ahead and take our adhesive, insert it into the gun, and usually I just take something like a screwdriver because it does have a metal seal that you'll need to break. Then we're gonna go ahead and take our nozzle and simply just screw it on. And then cut your tip to the desired bead size that you would like. And then we can simply start filling in all the seams. Now, once I've laid a bead down all the way around where it needs, I'm gonna go ahead and take a spatula tool like this, or any kind that you prefer, and simply just smooth out the bead and make sure it's into all the cracks and crevices. Now that we have everything smoothed out, we can go ahead and start taking our masking tape off. Now you want to be careful to ensure not to get any of the sealant anywhere else. Now we're going to go ahead and mask off the driver's side so we can go ahead and lay our sealant down. Now we simply just trim everything up, and then we can go ahead and start laying our bead down. Now just like that, our other side's finished as well. Now we can go ahead and start peeling off our masking tape. Now the first things we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take these plastic brackets. Now these simply sit right at the bottom where we originally took them off from. Now these have these little plastic clips on the ends of them to snap in place. And then if you made sure to keep track of all your screws, you'll also have your screws to screw down and make sure the clips snap in place. Now let's go ahead and install these now. Now, once you have one of your brackets installed, go ahead and take your 3 screws and a Phillips head screwdriver and simply screw them into the plastic clips. Now we can go ahead and move on to our top bracket. Now, to install this one and get the screw in properly, we're gonna need to pop the trunk open. Now we simply just snap it in place, just like the other one. And then take our 3 screws and tighten everything down. Now we're done with the one side. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. Now we're gonna go ahead and install our other brackets. Now make sure your plastic clips are snapped into place so they're aligned correctly on the car. Now we can go ahead and start tightening the screws now. Now, for right now, we're simply just hand tightening them with a screwdriver before we take an impact to them to make sure they're fully seated. Now we're gonna go ahead and take an impact and tighten up both sides. Now just like that, we're ready to install our rear bumper. Now that we have the brackets installed, we can go ahead and install our rear bumper and getting everything lined up nicely. Now, we simply line this up with the brackets, and the clips on the bumper itself should slot into the bracket. Now that we have our rear bumper installed, we're gonna go ahead and install our rear taillights. Now these are fairly simple. They simply just slot right in place with a couple of screws on each side. Now, you'll wanna make sure they line up with the holes on the rear of the car, and it'll slide right in place. Now we simply take our plastic nuts from whenever we originally removed them from the car and bolt them back in place on the 2 screws. Now simply just get one snug, then get the other snug, then you can further tighten them. That way you don't strip the threads on the screws and the taillight gets even pressure across it. Now we can go ahead and install our other one. Now just like that, your rear taillights are installed. So now that we have our rear bumper installed, there is a plug-in that goes to all the centering on the bottom for whenever you're backing up or parking. Now we simply just need to go underneath the car and find the plug-in and plug the bumper in. Now go ahead and shut your trunk to make sure everything is lined up correctly. Now this thing sure is looking nice. Let us know what you think down in the comments and stay tuned for more.
Now that we have completed all the installs on the car's body, we're going to go ahead and replace the wheels and tires.
What's up guys? So we're back with another install video and we're actually going to be installing some rims and tires on the Dodge Challenger. So today we have some VZN 119-769 if you want to go check them out on the vicrez website, and our brand new vicrez performance tires. These are VT101 on the vicrez website. We're also doing a giveaway video on these tires right here. If you want to go check that out, it's on our Instagram and the rest of our social media pages. So go check it out and try to win some for yourself. Now we're going to give you a closer look at these amazing rims. Now we went with silver because we think it'll look nice on the Challenger, especially after we get everything painted, especially with that vicrez center badge. Now we're going to go ahead and put the plastic cover back on the rim, but on the inside part. That way, whenever we put it in the vise to set the bead on the tire, the vise won't clamp onto the metal. Now we're gonna go ahead and lock the rim in place and give it a good spin, and then install the valve stem. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw the tire on the rim. Our Vicrez Performance tires are marked with inside and outside to make sure the install is proper. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw some soapy water on and slide the tire onto the rim. Now next, we're gonna use a little bit more soapy water and set the outside bead. Now just like that, we're ready to inflate the tire. Now once the bead fully sets, you'll hear a pop like that, and that's how you know the tire is fully seated. Now whenever we inflate these, we inflate them to 100 foot-pounds to make sure the bead is fully set on both sides. Then we de-inflate them to the manufacturer's specification per each car. Now next, we're just gonna go ahead and clean up the rim before balancing. Now these things sure do look amazing, especially with the Vicrez Performance tires on. Now we're gonna go ahead and balance the tire. At first, we need to take the center cap out first, so we're gonna go ahead and pop it out and make sure it doesn't fall on the floor. Then we can go ahead and install the tire onto the chuck with the chuck weight seated at the back of the wheel. Then next, we're gonna go ahead and lock the wheel in place. Now guys, if you order any tire and rim set on the Vicrez website, this is everything we'll do to get your tire prepped and ready for you to install whenever you receive them. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the balancing process. Now the machine's gonna let us know where we're gonna end up needing to put wheel weights at to make sure the tire is balanced properly. Now next, we're gonna go ahead and make sure everything's looking great on the machine. And the wheel is balanced 30-30. Then we're gonna go ahead and add our wheel weights where it's telling us to make sure the wheel is balanced properly. Then we're gonna go ahead and run it through another check to make sure after we've added the wheel weights, it's still in balance. Now we're gonna go ahead and add a couple more ounces because the wheel wasn't quite balanced yet. Now that we're done with that, now we're gonna go ahead and install the rims. Now we're gonna go ahead and loosen up the lug nuts before raising the car up the rest of the way. And whenever you're putting the jack under the car, you want to make sure that it's in a secure spot where it isn't going to warp the frame or bend anything. Now we can go ahead and slide the wheel off and slide the new one back on. And man, do those wide body wheels look good. Let's go ahead and give you a side angle comparison so that we can see those wide body wheels. And just like that, your wide body wheel is installed. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the front one. Now this is what the front looks like with the wide body. And guys, whenever you're putting your lug nuts on, you want to make sure you go in a star pattern to ensure even pressure and even tightness across all the lug nuts. Now man, those sure do look amazing on the vehicle. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. What's up guys? So now that we have everything installed onto the car that we're gonna end up installing on it, we're pretty much ready for paint. So let's go ahead and take it to get painted now.
With that beautiful candy purple paint laid down, this Dodge Challenger's transformation is finally complete. Hard to believe this is the same car that rolled in here just a short time ago. Want to see more incredible restorations and custom installs? Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned, we've got plenty more builds coming your way. And make sure to check out more of our replacement parts and mods at vicrez.com. Thanks for watching.